Okay, has anyone heard about NuoDB before? Anyone? What is it? Could be something a media player. Okay, it's a new kind of a database. We have done some presentation before that, some NoSQL databases and SQL Server database, and this is something totally different to both of them. And this is this has the advantage of NoSQL features, and as well as it supports relational database designing. That means table structure, especially in many other NoSQL databases. It's most of the time schemaless data storage, but in NoDB it supports schemas. That means we can create tables, views, and normal SQL Server facilities are there. And mainly this is targeted to cloud database management system, which means if your system requires has a lot of data and requires high performance at the same time. So this NoDB is designed from scratch with using NoSQL storage capabilities features, which means this is a document database, and as well as it gives relational database designing as a for the existing database developers. This is the learning curve is very low compared to other NoSQL databases, which means your application might need some changes to work with schemaless data storages, and as well as working in those NoSQL database as well might need some learning curve. Since we are all familiar with SQL Server, this is more similar developer experience is there with the NoDB, and I'm mostly compare with the NoSQL capabilities. NoDB guarantees 100% SQL compliant, which means some database systems does not 100%, and also 100% ACID guarantee, which is also a unique feature, and elastically scalable, which means since this is designed for cloud database management system, this is not for standalone machine, one few users and small amount of data. This is not the ideal database. You can go for a local database, something like SQL or maybe Access, but this is for if your application is getting famous very rapidly and you want to scale your data storages, this is designed for it. That means elastically scalable implies that without users feeling any delays or downtime, you can expand your database data layer into several nodes, and high resilient and minimal database administration. In many other, almost every other database management system, there should be a database administrator who time to time watch on the statistics and performance, and might have to do some maintenance work time to time, take backups and those kind of things. With NuoDB, it is they saying zero or minimum monitoring is required from a human person. And so what is the drawback with the existing database system is, which is the last paragraph, which says if you want to do a data operation, which means a CRUD operation, the database management system, what this is, it acquires some logs over the table or records and do the operation. Until that, other users have to wait. But with NoDB, it doesn't happen. The locking is a different mechanism. No one has to wait because it can handle asynchronously, and traditional databases all are synchronous and centralized in one location or to a master database, and NuoDB doesn't have any concept called master database or anything, and it is for distribute nodes management. And there are some key features. If you want to know 100% display, which this is not TSQL, but if you are familiar with TSQL, it is easy to learn. It is called NuSQL, which is currently in uh, development stage of this language, which is a simplified version of TSQL. And something like if I say in TSQL insert into table name and the value. So here it could be insert table name and the value. Something like unnecessary keywords have been taken out, and it is simplified. And some other things also they have introduced it to NuSQL syntaxes for developers. It means developers usually be working with programming languages. So we are using Java, C Sharp, we are using lowercase letters. So the syntax also they have designed for lowercase keywords and stuff. And there's also uh, another language currently developing with which is called Java something I don't remember the name, Java related language, which is also it is very different to TSQL syntax. It is more like coding syntax, and both are currently under development. As a and NuSQL is not a not came from the NuoDB company. It is an open standard. It is still developing with the community, and 100% acid guarantee because it has some proprietary mechanism of communicating between the within the database system. So they have achieved 100% acid capabilities. And scalability, I have said, so when we want to distribute our database system, we have to do some kind of a middle database creation or shard, geographically distribute data or database sharding, which means horizontally partition database. For let's say we have something related to country-wise data, we can store Sri Lanka data in Sri Lankan data center and Indian data in Indian data center for performance. Likewise, normally we have to do, but with NuoDB we don't have to worry about this. It is saying that we don't need any caching mechanism or sharding approaches, and replication is automatic. We only need to say how many nodes we need to distribute. Built-in redundancy, it means usually we have to come up with a disaster recovery plan when we have a large database, and it is built-in. It has a single duplicate redundancy. Even when I am creating a single database, it creates two copies of it in two different partitions, and with so with that, it can switch between the nodes in real time. So it's almost zero downtime. And multi-tenancy, which means your nodes can be deployed into different uh, domains. And you don't have to specify a very complex configuration. It's just you have to specify what you want, and sometimes if you are making a new node, you just have to say give a path where it should get created. Those kind of minimum instructions should be given. And the auto replication is when you are creating a node, we say we have a very big storage, and it will take some time to make a copy of that into a new place. But if we take care of it and we don't have money, it synchronously create the copy, and automatically it will distribute the load balancing will be automatically done. You don't have to do anything, and there is no place you can do. And this administration, there's a like management studio, we have a administration window called Move console. It will give you some statistic graph. You can selectively add some graph as well, and you only need to do after you creating the database. You only need to considering about your statistics, uh, to add some node or remove some node, and those kind of things only. And built-in security. When there are distributed storages, there's a network communication happens all the time, and this is designed for a cloud system, which is called a CDMS, Cloud Database Management System, which is it is not hard to understand. Normal database runs on a cloud system, and it is having a built-in encryption technology, so we don't have to specify any encryption, or we don't have to worry about it. It is already built in. And Move console is a centralized the management studio similar tool. We can monitor the statistics and transactions, load balancing, everything. Everything is real time. So because all the functionalities, communication happens asynchronously, so nothing is locking, and that's it. And there are two main components we have to understand, which is called storage managers and transaction engine. Storage manager means it's a physical file system, which means you are creating a copy, means you are making a new storage manager. Any other machine or same machine, you can add more storage managers, and they will store the data in physical file system, and each storage manager contains the same data as a copy. Uh, there might be slight variation in real time, but theoretically it's the same. And transaction engines is running on top of storage managers, which is the component that when an application requests some data, the transaction comes to the transaction engine, and it will identify the optimum storage manager to retrieve the data when there are multiple storage managers. And yeah, that's it. And developer tools, currently it supports Java, Ruby, Sen, Core Fusion, .NET and Node.js. There might be more applications they release, and so the developers can work on the same way we work with the other databases. So you might need to update only some drivers, and you can do the coding and application work in the same way. How many nodes, how many storage managers, transaction managers we have in the database, it doesn't matter. It's not a matter for the developer. You only see one database. It is totally up to the node database to take care of how many nodes, how many, how its load balance, how many hits it can cater. It's up to it. Uh, Developer will only have one connection string, and it will handle the rest of the thing. And heterogeneous deployment, which means the storage managers can be deployed in several machines and network location. So those locations can have different environments like Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, Solaris. So these four platforms supports now for now, and when it is developing, maybe some more will be there. And there's there's something called emergent architecture, which is the NuoDB is the only database for now which uses this architecture. which means when you are adding nodes or transaction engines, the component does not know exact instruction what to do and where to copy and everything. It identifies its surrounding nodes and it intelligently behaves to perform the overall task. That's they don't explore how they internally works. It's the they how they explain is the consider a flock of birds. Let's say a predator comes towards them. The first bird shows it start flying, and rest of the closest birds also start moving, but they are not guided by the first bird, or they don't know where they are going. But ultimately, all the birds will move to another different location, and all the birds will be in the same location again, same new location. So that's the example they are giving. If the storages and the internal communication also happens in the same theory. Are there any questions? You can ask. And there's a concept called atomicity in NuoDB, which means every component in this system considered as an atom, which is a self-describing object which has some data and also some metadata uh, to it's to operate within system. Everything in system, including databases, indexes, views, everything, users are considered as atoms, and they all work together to perform as a single database to this application. And what are the capabilities of atoms? So atoms know how to make copies of themselves. They have instructions. Atoms keep all copies of themselves up to date. When one atom gets updated, we say one record is get updated, it instructs all the other atoms uh, to get the update from the updated one. So they will asynchronously using a message queue. They will get the latest updates for other atoms. So likewise, all the nodes will get updated for the same operation, and they can broadcast messages. Atoms listen for events and changes from other atoms. Can request data from others, and atom can serialize. And also transaction engine and storage managers. Both are transaction. We consider transaction engines, and a special kind of transaction engine is the called storage manager. Where in the storage manager, atoms are serialized into the file system. That's the only difference between a transaction engine and a storage manager. So when they are dealing with the secondary storage, it is referred as storage manager. Consistency, and it's the same thing since one traditional databases, once we have do a CRUD operation, it takes some performance overhead due to its design. Like it needs some locking mechanism, and we need to sometimes update using a periodically or later do migration or something. But in NuoDB, you don't have to worry about it. Once one node gets updated, all the others are instructed to get the update. So it is consistent, and all are distributed to the other nodes. So everything in NuoDB is an atom, and transaction engine is a process that executes the SQL layer. And storage means is simply a special kind of transaction engine that allows atoms to serialize themselves to permanent storage. And MongoDB database can be single transaction engine. And, in a simplest database version, we can have one transaction engine and one storage manager, and you can have any number of them. You can add more storage managers as well as transaction managers. You don't have to have the same number of two types. It could be different. And there are some 12 rules I have defined from them about what should be a cloud database management should do. And it's a modern superset of an RDBM, which means when we go to the database development, we are familiar with the relational database, so we first create a database and tables. So when we are creating table, we specify the schema. So that is RDBMS concept. So it is also included in here. So in the NuoDB, you can create tables just like in Management Studio, and elastic scale out of extreme performance. It means zero downtime, and the users will not feel any performance lagging, but performance enhancements after adding some nodes. Single logical database. How many storage managers, how many transaction engines, doesn't matter. You only have this. It's the same database name, same connection string. That means for the application and users, it's a single logical database. And run linear scale data. Run linear means the previous defined platform it runs. And this is all the NuoDB has. It's running on top of Java runtime environment. So it is with Java it runs on several platforms, and non-stop availability and dynamic multi-tenancy, geo-distribution, embrace cloud means the features and capabilities of cloud it is utilizing, and storing store redundancy, workload mix. That means when we have, they say we have only one storage manager, and we are getting some more hits, and for one user it feels slow. So you can add one more transaction engine, and it will increase some amount of performance for the entire user. But it will not suddenly happen. It will take few seconds. And tunable durability guarantees and distributed security, which all the nodes are secure. For developers have minimum learning curve, and administrators almost have nothing to do after deployment. Only based on the statistics, if the performance is demanding more, you can add more storages and transaction engines. And these are the tools if you are developing with .NET. You need to have Java runtime environment to install NuoDB. And so when I am installing, I install it to C. But there, when I see there is a folder in D called NuoDB, it's a replication. Automatically it detects the partitions and choose a different partition. It creates the backup copy. But it doesn't call the hub, it's a node. So when we are working, both are communicating with the transaction engine. So both are synchronized all the time. And we need .NET obviously. And NuoDB driver for ADO.NET. Many of the developers, almost all the developers know it, but it's ADO.NET. So we need driver for NuoDB. And if you are using Entity Framework, you need, in addition to ADO.NET, you need to have NuoDB provided for Entity Framework. Up to last week, I think it supports only up to EF5, but this week is updated for EF6. But Entity Framework having 6.1.3, so always they will be behind because it's a third party company. and I have some marketing details. Okay. Sorry. Any questions up to now?
If you're a good developer, here's what scaling your database looks like today. Build an awesome app, get users excited, and then scale as fast as you can. And that's where you run into trouble. Because if you need to add performance and reliability, you've only got two choices. Pay top dollar to scale your high-end SQL database with a bunch of expensive machines and really scary workarounds, or recode your whole app to work on some lightweight database. You can't afford to sacrifice performance or reliability, but what do you do when your only choices are a fragile, complex system and an oversimplified solution that doesn't quite get the job done? What if you had a third option? What if you had a powerful SQL database that worked in the cloud without any complex workarounds? Well, that's what NuoDB is. A brand new database architecture built for developers like you to scale elastically in the cloud or on your in-house servers. NuoDB started from scratch, and we built a powerful database for the way your app, or any app, needs to scale today, out and in at a moment's notice. And since its architecture is decentralized, your app won't have a single point of failure. So you need to scale out, add more nodes. Scale back in, delete some nodes, any nodes, even the first ones you created. NuoDB is unlike any database you've ever seen, and it makes scaling today's businesses simple. Stop choosing between compromise and costly complexity. Download NuoDB today and see how easy it is to scale your database.
NuoDB is a distributed database management system that allows you to dynamically add and remove active nodes without ever sacrificing transactional consistency. In this short demo video, we demonstrate how the NuoDB SQL database can be configured on demand to run as a redundant active-active database across multiple server hosts. Later on, we show how it gracefully handles machine failures without any downtime. All NuoDB continuous availability features are a result of the unique patented architecture of the product. Continuous availability in NuoDB offers built-in support for high availability and redundancy, rolling upgrades, and online schema evolution and backup. Now let's switch to the storefront demo screen to see how NuoDB can ensure continuous availability for your applications. To start with, we run the NuoDB database on a single host on AWS US East with 520 concurrent storefront users at around 800 transactions per second, or TPS. Given this workload, the database appears to be under-provisioned, as indicated by the relatively high latency of around 350 milliseconds per transaction. You can see from the host view that there are two NuoDB processes running on the same machine. The transaction engine, or TE, is an in-memory process responsible for processing SQL commands, caching data, and coordinating transactions with other TEs and storage managers. If you add one or more TEs to the system, the incoming requests will be distributed across all TEs, thereby increasing transaction throughput if needed. The second process, storage manager, or SM, is responsible for making transactions durable on disk. Each SM in NuoDB contains a complete copy of all the data on disk, and a new SM can be brought online on demand. As we now add another host to the system, NuoDB brings up a TE and an SM on that host. By doing so, we not only see improved transaction throughput and significantly decreased latency, but we have also made the system redundant as soon as NuoDB completes the initial data replication onto the second SM. To demonstrate now what would happen to the NuoDB database if there was a host failure caused by a network connection error on AWS. We can simulate this scenario by shutting down each of the NuoDB processes on one of the hosts. Now that the NuoDB processes on the AWS host are no longer available, NuoDB transparently reroutes all new transactions to available TEs, in our case, to the TE on the remaining host. And as you would expect, the database is automatically scaled back to the remaining process resources, resulting in TPS and latency performance levels of the original single host scenario. Now that our unexpected simulated network failure has ended, NuoDB's built-in template-driven automation capabilities We'll restart the PE and SM processes on the second host in order to bring back the system to a fully redundant state. What we've seen in this demo in real time is that NuoDB can provide continuous availability as part of an active-active operation utilizing all available database resources. The system can be easily configured and managed on demand with zero downtime. Just download NuoDB today and take it for a spin.
So I'm not playing the other one. It's saying explaining how the storage managers and transaction engines uh, give you the performance, how the transfer communication is balanced. So you can have some. These are some selected videos, but in the Vimeo channel for NuoDB they have some lot of other videos as well. And demo is not a big thing, but I'm just performing a CRUD operation and it works. So this is the page. So I refresh it again. So I have coded to usual datasets approach and as well as entity framework. I faced because I experienced some issues with entity framework because the data context did not reflect the exact updates for me in the same time. When I am clicking multiple times, it gives some different result sets uh, even after I have performed it. But the datasets approach, it consistently give me the same results. So if I say load, so nothing in the database. So I'll add the so it's data set approach. I'll add yeah. It has some drawbacks still. Entity framework is some not reliable for me, but here it will show consistently. Works. Deletes also works, and in the coding, uh, I have added. If I'm using entity framework, I need entity framework 6.0 because you have to install the specific version because latest version is not the 6. And also I need to install entity framework provider for NuoDB uh, when you are installing tools. So here you can see .NET Drive, it is independent, and this one says but when I install the latest version it gives errors, so it still works only with up to 6. Those are the two. For uh, edu.net approach, anyway this one required NoDB data client. When I say loading, we have to then refer the NoDB data client like we do for system.data.client, and we need to since I am familiar more with the SQL, so I am always trying SQL connection, SQL command and everything. Then it doesn't give any errors at the compile time, but in the runtime it says something is wrong, which I am not familiar with, because the connection string format is different than what we use with SQL Server. Uh, it has some different terminologies. I show it. So here we have to use all the SQL stuff into NuoDB, uh, and all the other things are the same. The connection string, uh, this is the one. Let's see. So it has some settings called pooling and server. Usually we use data source in SQL context, uh, and this is a URL, not a direct just a server name. And it, when we installing NuoDB, it reserves a port uh, it to communicate. And for initial catalog, they here use database, and username password we have to give. And there's something called schema. Within the database, by default it creates a schema called system, and under that we get the usual tables, views and other database components. So we need to come up with our own schema. We have to create new one, otherwise we are mixing up with the system objects and our custom objects. And connection lifetime timeout, this is a timeout, 300 seconds. And provide uh, as I remember, it didn't ask for a port. It, I think, when I'm installing all the time, it reserves the same port. I think it tries for a maybe 48,000, and if it is already reserved, it tries the next one. Kind of, it will automatically assign a one. And because there are some other stuff like transaction engines and storage managers, it reserves some other port numbers as well, because first 25,000 ports are uh, known ports for known applications, like uh, in all over the internet, like Skype or browsers, everything. They use some ports. We are not familiar with all the things, but then onward up to 65,000 odd number, those are for any purpose kind of thing. So they are starting from 48,000. So they continuously allocate for transaction engine and storage managers from 48,005, 48,006 likewise. Yeah. In the entity framework approach, I tried some forcefully refreshing the context, but it didn't give me any reliability. But I left the coding. The simple one could be like this, and all the other front operations I did the same approach, the dataset approach and the entity framework approach, and deleting also. And here I can show you that new SQL syntax, it doesn't have a into keyword, and the other things are all same like SQL. Delete from. That's all about my application. So any questions up to now? Yes, we can create. I haven't for the demo that this is all I have done. Yeah, there's a browser-based console. So once you install NuoDB, you get a system tray icon called NuoDB monitor. I think you can see it. So right click on it, and you can. There are two things: admin center, which is also reserved a port, which is kind of a website. It gives you some idea about what to do in this admin console, and the other thing is uh, admin console, admin center, and automation console. Automation console is the developer tool. So when we are doing installation, it asks for a domain credentials. I don't say my password. So I have used to easy to remember when the domain username is also called domain. You can have anything. So it brings you to automation console and it has a dashboard. Initially the dashboard is having only one component, but you can have some selected widgets. You can add them, and here are, I don't know what is this. So close this. So here are the two databases in my which I can see. This is the system database which we can have some statistics if our application needs to communicate with, and this is my custom database, and also here are this is the database list down, and it shows some statistics commits per second based on uh, some transactions, and we can stop databases, and we can do explore will take you to another uh, module called legacy admin console, which means at the when the NuoDB introduces, that was the only administration panel. It is called legacy, but some of the things can only done by that panel still, and here was I have to add. And for each database you need to have another credential. So here is DBA, and this is the credential we are using in the connection string. So when we come here, we have our created database. uh, so I first show you how to create a database first. So here we have some more applications from the tool. This is the admin center, automation console, and SQL Explorer, which I am going to show you. This one I show you later, and legacy admin console. These are some help links, and there are some two demos as well. You can investigate it. So in the legacy admin console, you can have a high-level view of all the databases and all processes and stuff. And I'm going to see databases. So I have two. Yeah. So there are some graphs at the below, and by default this is my machine name, and two ports are reserved for two components. And from by icon, this is a transaction engine, this is a storage manager, and yeah, they are running. But this database status should be running, but when I'm my machine is hibernated. So when I'm opening, it says it gets unknown. So I restart some services, so I can show you how to create storage managers and transaction engines.
So if you're migrating from SQL Server database, you'll have to rewrite or recorrect the syntax of the store procedures.
Yes.
Even if you are like not using the database, it's sending like 300, 400 bytes continuously. like a testing kind of a
I think it's
feedback
keeping some listeners listening when there are multiple components. They are communicating between, and it is. You mean the graph?
yeah, no.
Graph is for last 5 minutes, kind of time because
No, it's even you are like talking
uh, I'm not sure what they are talking about. But
Maybe the statistics, performance counters.
this one. The blue graph.
this one. So last 5 minutes. Not sure about it. So now the database is running, and yeah, so adding a storage manager or transaction engine is called add a process, and go to add, and I can select first the database and host. I am not in a network, so I'm only here. This one whether I want a TE or a SM, because its initials are used in some graph, so that's why I refer to TE or SM. And if I'm adding a storage manager, it asks for a location for archive, and transaction engine, you only need to select a commit mode. I don't know how to explain this, but from uh, demo purposes I use local, and there are some logging. You can specify if you need logs and some other settings. They are all optional. So these are the only thing you need to do, and add submit, and it is creating. Still not other details are available, but in few seconds it will give the rest of details. Storage, since I created a storage, oh no, it's a transaction engine. So yeah, it's created, and now if I have a continuous communication from I have hosted, we can see kind of statistics like in the video it shows, and also storage match also same approach. It would take more time because it needs to copy the data, right? And if there are any notifications to be given, there are something called alerts. So it's like inbox. You can see any information here. If I take if I delete the new transaction engine, so I can say simply shut down, and you can see some statistics here as well. So I'm getting a one alert count. It should show here as well. So it says process ended and some description here. So that's about the admin legacy admin console. And if you have multiple machines, you can have multiple hosts here. And also when you are experimenting, you can have a disposable database you can create. When it's creating, it asks for a allow non-durable database that you want to configure any storage manager. That means it's in memory kind of a sample it will create. And I close this one, and I am in the database. So then after creating database, you have to come to this SQL Explorer, then you can see the database. By default there is system schema. It is usual components are there, and I have and in GVO schema I have created some table. So I'm not going to recreate them, but I'll show you the scripts. So some it's a bit familiar syntaxes, but there are slight variations from TSQL. Like this is an ID column. If you are normally creating, there is no UI buttons to say this is primary key and some property window to say this is auto increment and kind of thing. But the same concept is available here. You can after you when you, it is better to do scripting up to now, so you can say generated always as identity. This is the only required part. Then it will start increment one by one and starting from 1. But also you can specify a sequence, which is another kind of a function kind of thing. Sequence in there you can specify from which number the sequence starts. You can start from 100. We'll say hotel numbers kind of thing, hotel room numbers. So they start from 101 and onwards. So in here there are some category called sequence. Yeah, so I can show there's no way to see the definition once you created it. So it's like this. So you can create a schema sequence like this, and if you want an this will start from 1, and if you want you can start with and specify the number. And also foreign keys in the creation time also you can do, but in the creation time I got the designer view, so that means I can just type the column names and the data types, so it will create the table. So I use the alter table to add the foreign key, but in the entity framework model I didn't receive the relationship between the tables, and so it is not enforcing the foreign key constraint as well. I don't know why. Maybe I have done some wrong in the programming stuff, but the syntax is like this. Okay, is it clear? Okay, and query execution you can try it here in this window. Execute you can do, and also you can do selective execution as well. It will be execute selection, so it's incorrect. And the query plan. So query plan is not a diagram, but it's gives some relational algebra or calculus stuff. And also it has some up to some certain snippet support. So here when you hit this you can see some snippets, but they are not completely copying to the editor. If I say a function, it only adds function. It doesn't give a full syntax for a function. So you can get some context help from here. So it is it's mainly for select state data retrieval, and if you need more syntax help you can go for the official site. There is a kind of a MSDN kind of a page. You can refer all the syntaxes. and list down any tables, all are shown, and that's in here. So this is the site you can refer, and NuoDB.com. And about NewSQL, it's a new database access language, and this is the other language, NewSQL JDB for Java databases, and NewSQL S2, SQL version 2 kind of thing. And we only need the first column and the third column to be compared. So if I say insert into test and values, it is insert test and this values. And this is the NuoDB Vimeo channel. There are many videos about the product, and also some benchmarking videos as well. There are Google and Amazon cloud system, and also some HP servers. They are and initially they have demonstrated up to about 70,000 transactions at the same time. It performs well, and I saw some web page specify that by now it's about 300,000 it supports in the benchmark levels. And this is the dev center for developers to get the drivers and uh, other guidance like how to do stuff, and SQL references. You can get all the SQL syntaxes you can find here. And here is the product comparison, and this is the free version I am showing, free for community, and you can have only limited features, and this is free forever. And you can have one storage manager. You can have only up to two hosts. That's the limitation, I guess. And the tech support. And there are some. There are, when you are created the database, you can have a single, just a standalone database. And once your community grows up, you when you need to uh, uh, expand your database system, there are some templates. Even the existing running database can be converted into any of these templates, and users won't feel any issues. Without a downtime, you can do geo distribution and multi-tenancy, those kind of things. And I'll show that in the database. These are the templates, which means currently I'm running single host database. In the database you can change this value into any of this, and it will eventually emerge to the template it's selected. And center, yes, that's it. Go back to the presentation. So these are the references I use, mostly the official site and Vimeo videos, and NewSQL SourceForge site about understanding the NewSQL and what's the difference, and drivers you can download from that site. And any questions?